Hi everybody, I'm Kurt, owner of Extreme Audio in Manitowoc, Wisconsin. Today we're going to be working on a 98-13 Street Glide. We're going to show you how to put the speakers in, how to cut the lid kits in, run the power wire, everything in between. I'm going to have one of my techs, Ace, help us today.
Hi, I'm Ace.
All right, we're going to get started. First thing you want to do before you take your fairing off is we want to protect the fender. We're going to put a Harley-Davidson fender cover on. That's going to prevent any scratches or anything falling on it. It's going to protect the fender. Next, we're going to remove the 7 screws on the fairing. There's 3 across the windshield, 2 back here, and 2 down low. I'm going to turn it over to Ace and he'll tell you exactly what he's doing and the tools that he's using.
So I'm going to use my DeWalt drill, impact drill. We got a T25 bit on here. As I remove the fairing, I'm going to leave the middle screw of our fairing here, which holds our windshield in, for last. That'll enable me to take the fairing off if I'm by myself. So I'm going to start with these first 2 here on the outside. It's a little easier to access the screws of the fairing if you turn the bike handlebars one way to access the appropriate side. And the one that is down here is a little trickier to get at. I'm gonna go ahead and just kind of move things out of the way so you can see where it is. It's way down inside the fork here. I'm going to turn the bike handlebars back straight. I'm just going to kind of straddle myself over the front wheel. Remove that last screw. So I'm going to take the windshield out and I'm going to put it underneath my arm, kind of like a chicken wing move. And then I'm going to tip the fairing out to where I can access how the headlight is plugged in. And I'll squeeze on each side and pull it off and it should disconnect. And then I'll take and set my fairing out of the way. I usually set my windshield right next to it so I don't forget.
All right, next we're going to take off the gas tank and the seat. We're going to remove that so we can run the power wire underneath the tank into the fairing.
With the seat here, there's a screw at the very back of the seat. There's a strap that's going over the top of our seat as well. So one side will have a Phillips headed screw on it as well, so I'll have to take that off and then the seat will slip out. And to access this screw here, I got to lift the lid cover out of the way. So then you just pull the strap out of that little slot there, throw it over the top. I typically put my hand over the top of this hard metal piece just to protect the paint so I don't damage anything, the seat or the paint on the bike. Wiggle it back a little bit, and depending on what style of seat you have, it'll have a slot or a metal post that sticks out that will either go into the slot, or this one has the slot on the seat itself. So I'm gonna take the tank off. There's 4 screws, and then I gotta pull this tube out, disconnect this, undo this harness, the fuel petcock on this side will drop down, and then I should be able to take the tank off. So this one here just has a little black tab, pull it loose, and disconnect that one there like that. I'm just gonna pull it out. So now I'm going to take the hardware off and then take the tank off. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and take these off back here. So sometimes it'll have some like weatherproof tape that'll go around here, or zip ties or whatever. You'll have to cut those back, and then that'll give you the ability to lift this up and over. Take these lines and just wiggle them out of the way. And that'll let you open up this cover. There you go. Once you get all those loose, you want to make sure you have enough to get over to our amp. So basically you want to take and put this guy inside this channel here as best as we can fit it in. Make sure we don't pinch any of our wires as we are going to put the cover back on. We want to leave enough on this side, obviously, that we can reach our terminals here and down there. And then also fit whatever we have extra in all of this. And once you have it all in there, now you can put your cover back on, it'll hold it in place. It doesn't necessarily have to start particularly anywhere. Pick a spot and start working it into place. And attach it back to the clips that you unclipped it from on the way out. Also make sure you don't pinch any wires in along here too. And then we have to route these back into where they came out. So I'm going to turn the handlebars so you can kind of see that, oh yeah, I'm going to open up some access for me to get this through there. And this gives me the room to get through there.
Now we're going to install the EX speakers in the fairing.
So we're going to go ahead and put our EX65s in. That requires for us to install a crossover to that speaker. And there's two little posts on our top here, terminals that we'll put them into. And they're labeled right here on this black collar. You'll see the plus and the minus indicating positive and negative side. So I'm just going to go ahead and take my screwdriver and back these out enough to sneak our crossover spades in place. And I'm going to use a hand tool so I have a little more control. Just make sure they're down nice, tight, and snug. I'm also going to try to keep it out of the way of my spades so that when I'm hooking the speaker up, that they won't be in the way. So it'll look like this when we're all done. And these guys here are going to clip on this end of our speaker. They're also marked positive and negative. So red is going to go over here, and the black one will go over here. And this is going to create signal for our compression tweeter. So we are going to put our EX65 speaker into the bike at this point. I have the crossover installed and we are ready to put it on the bike. Before mounting points, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of dry fit it real quickly so I make sure I line it up on 4 of these holes that are already pre-drilled into my ring. Most times when I put it in, I try to get my terminals here facing inward towards the bike, not pointing down, because then sometimes they can get caught on this little brace here and short out. So typically if you point them in this way, they're going to steer clear of everything that could potentially be in the way. I'm going to grab one of the screws, just kind of fit it through by hand, and grab my hand tool or my drill, whichever I'm using. Oops, the magnet's pretty strong. Give it a few turns in, so it will stay in place while I'm working in the rest of the screws. And I would recommend leaving them all loose until you've got the last one in place. So So you have maneuverability with the speaker to move it around and fit into the mounting points you're trying to get it into. There we go. And then the last one here I'm going to put in, it's going to hold this brace in place as well as the speaker. And this one can always be a little tricky. So I always try to get to this top side of this slotted point through that speaker opening. And it will be a little bit angled as it's coming in there. That's okay. Oops. When it starts driving into that spacer ring, it will pull everything into place. You saw it kind of seat up in there and push everything into the location it's supposed to be in, keeping this brace in tight to the rest of the frame so that your fairing isn't just flopping around out here. So this one is in tight. I'm going to go ahead and tighten up the rest of them, and then this speaker will be done. All right, now it's in place. I'm going to make the connections with the factory wires. White is my positive collar. Black is my negative. And just push it down there on those posts, and it's all set.
Now we're going to cut in our lid kit. I'm going to have my son Cameron help us, who's 17 years old. He's been working on Harley since he was 14. I took him to a rally. He cut in all the lid kits. It's really not that hard, and he's going to walk you through how easy it is.
So the first thing we're going to do is open up the bag, and we're going to want to take out the T20 bit at the front of the bag. That way we get this out of the way, tighten this down so it stays, so we don't accidentally cut this with our jigsaw. All right, now we have our cutting template, which we're just going to put right on, line it up, and then we take our masking tape, which we're going to use to protect the paint. We're just going to make a little line here. We're going to take the template off, add some extra protection onto the lid. Now we're going to take our template, put it back on, and we're actually going to reuse the plastic to protect the paint. And we just take a razor blade, just like this, and cut right along the middle. Just like that. Now that our paint is protected, we're going to take one of these screws, put it in one of these template holes, and making sure to push against it to make sure the template's in place. We're just going to drill it in, just like that. And then we take another one and do the same thing. Just like that. Okay, now we're going to mask more areas off. Just protecting that paint. Just like that. It does not have to look pretty. Now that we have the tape down, we're going to start our guide hose for the jigsaw. Now that we made our guide holes, it's time to use the jigsaw. Just like that. Now we take off the tape and vacuum it up. Now that we're done cutting, we're gonna install the grill. We recommend that you use a screwdriver for the screws so you don't strip them. Now that our grill is installed, we're gonna drill a hole for the speaker wire. So you're gonna go 3 inches below. Now we're gonna take the bag off to prepare to run the wire. Now with the bag, we have to take the side panel off. Comes off in 3 pegs, just like that. We're gonna run the speaker wire underneath this bar, and we don't need a lot of room because we do not want it rubbing on the tire. So this should be good. Now that we have it ran under the bar, we're gonna put the side cover back on. Now we're gonna put the bag back on, making sure that no slack will hit the tire. And you pull the grommet right through, just like that. Pull the slack above the seat. And put the bag back on. Now we're gonna zip tie the remaining slack so it's easier to tuck. Now we're gonna clean the area off with rubbing alcohol. Now we're gonna plug in our tail to the speaker wire. We're gonna take one of these sticky pads, peel a corner. We got it, we're gonna put one down here. Grab a zip tie. Now we're gonna thread the zip tie through, making sure to zip tie after the quick disconnects. After, not before. Now we're gonna grab another one and do the same thing. Grabbing your zip tie, threading it through. And the final step, we're just gonna cut it and make it look good. Now it's time to install our speaker. Now we put the terminals on. After the speaker's installed, we're going to put our bracket back on.
Okay, now we're ready to put our amp in place. We're going to put it in this location right here. I'm going to try to get it tucked up underneath these wires as best I can, like this. So it'll look like this when I'm all finished. I'm going to use these two pieces of Velcro to put it in place, one male side, one female side. And it doesn't really matter which one you put which. You take the backing off of your Velcro on one side. And I'm going to put it right here. And do the opposite to the underside of the amp. And just find somewhere in the middle there, aim and put that down. And just as I said I was going to, I'm going to take and put it right underneath here. You might have to fight the Velcro a touch to get it in place. Wiggle it in there as tight as you can get it. Stick it down and make sure it's good. So now we're going to go ahead and put our amp connections together. I'm going to go and start with these tweeter leads and put these crossovers in line so that they're ready to go when I'm ready to clip everything into our harness. So we're going to remove the factory harness. And we're going to plug it into our amp harness. I'm going to put this one on here. So we have this one from our factory side into our amp harness, and then our amp harness going into the radio itself. And we're going to go to our amp. We have right, left, numbers 1 and 2. We're going to find those on our amp. In 1 and 2. I'm going to pull those collars off of there and plug them into the corresponding RCA ports. Make sure those seat all the way down. Then we're going to plug in our amp harness into the amp itself. It's going to have 2 little clips, one on each side, that will clip onto the amp itself. There's only one way that it will go, and I usually try to take and look at the wires and make sure that they line up. So I usually go with the purple, so I have purple and purple, and push them together and make sure it sits down and seats. Make sure these clip over so it's nice and tight. Do the same with our power. Has the same style of clip. 2 clips on each side, 2 on here. Make sure the wires match up. Put it together. Make sure it clips. And we have our remote turn on, so it'll tell our amp when to turn on. So that's here. And we're going to use the lead that comes off of your headlight. And here it's going to be an orange one, and you have a little pigtail in your kit. It'll look like this. Put the spaded end on this side, and then the bullet connector will go into your amp. That should be all of your amp connections except for one left for your tweeters, which we started with. So I'm just going to find that end. Find the output side of my amp harness. I'm going to plug that into the white gray, which would indicate my front inputs, outputs. These go right in here. So after we've made these connections, we're going to take and cut these off. Same with this one. And there'll be some shrink wrap material, heat shrink material. And I have a torch. And you can use whatever heat source you want, heat gun or a lighter or whatever you want. And I'm just going to heat shrink these on here. And that'll help ensure that these don't come loose. So we have zip tied up all of our loose wires. We're going to put the fairing back in place. I want to make sure that I don't have anything blocking these 2 points down here, because those can be tricky when we're putting it back together. So the first thing I got to do is make sure I hook our headlight back up. Okay, And then I'm going to use the 3 collared screws to put the front part of the fairing back on where the windshield goes. So I've got the headlight hooked up. I'm going to kind of get it into place. Line up those 3 on the top, and I'm going to grab my windshield, lean the fairing out so I can wiggle it into the spot it's supposed to go. And the same way I took it apart, I'm going to put it back together. I'm going to start with this one right here in the middle. And if you have it on there right and close enough, you should be able to tighten it up even with just a few finger turns. And now I know that the fairing windshield will stay in place while I'm working, and I can let go of it. And I'll put these 2 on the side. And again, I'm going to leave everything loose until I have all the screws in place so that I can maneuver the fairing to get it in the right position if I need to. So just like we did on removal, we're going to take and turn the handlebars away from the area that we are working so we have the most room.